Ever since Obama won his first caucus running for the Democratic ticket in January, I became really interested in politics. As I learned about the various propositions and candidates, I was really excited for November 4th. Then I realized I wouldn't be old enough to vote, which made me question what made 18 an appropriate age to begin voting. What do you think is the appropriate age for someone to vote?
That's a good question.
Well, I've heard 14, I've heard 16. I think 16 I feel pretty good about. I could say 14 as well would be appropriate. But 16 seems like a better age.
Well, right now the law says that 18-year-olds should be allowed to vote, and I think that's fair given the reasons for the amendment being passed for 18-year-olds to be allowed to vote.
Voting is a fundamental right all Americans have. As centuries passed and times changed, the definition of who could vote changed as well. In the beginning, only white males who owned land were allowed to vote. But by the time of the Civil War, the voting law changed to include all white males over the age of 21. A few years after the Civil War, the 15th Amendment was passed, allowing African American men to vote as well. Although women fought many times to get their vote, they only got their right in 1920 through the 19th Amendment. More recently, in 1971, the voting age was changed again from 21 to 18. This was because many Americans were angry at the fact that at 18 they could be conscripted for the war but were not able to vote. All around the country, some states tried to lower their voting ages. In 2002, Cambridge, Massachusetts city leaders voted to lower the local voting age to 17. But the state legislature, which had the final say, had not approved the change. Even more recently, in 2005, a few council members from Berkeley wanted to submit a recommendation for an amendment change that would allow 14 through 17-year-olds to vote. This was called the SCA 19, which stated that 14 and 15-year-olds would count as 1/4 of a vote, and 16 and 17-year-olds would count as 1/2 of a vote. But this also did not pass.
Even though it would give us more power and more activity in the democratic system, ultimately I think it would be a bad decision because a lot of 15, 16, 17-year-olds don't really know what's going on. I myself don't even know most of the things on the ballot, but I mean, we're not educated yet. We're still growing. Ultimately, we're prone to very rash decisions, and I think it's a bad idea to let us vote.
You'd have the same people who are voting, plus you'd have another group of people who would be voting as well. And I think it's important that we are able to, 16-year-olds are able to voice their opinions on measures that are going to affect them. You have Prop, I think it's 6 that's on the ballot that's going to move all kinds of money from education and rehabilitation towards prison spending, and that's going to affect young people. Young people should know that there are a group of wealthy people who have plans for them, and prison is some of them is that plan, and they should be able to fight against it. And they're voiceless if they can't express their vote.
In high school, we are given economics class, economics American democracy class, where my teacher, he said, you know what, I've taught you guys all about the Electoral College and all this and that. You guys are actually the most informed audience of people who could vote. If you all were 18, then you guys would be the most informed people because you just got this information just now instead of these people who took this class like 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Well, social studies classes are supposed to teach people about voting rights and the history of voting rights and the issues in this country and internationally as well. So yeah, I think high schools are supposed to prepare youth to vote. That's what the curriculum is there for.
I believe that there are responsible 16 and 17-year-olds that should be allowed to vote, but are not allowed because of the stereotype that we are too young and immature. Why should a whole age group be restricted because of what some people their age have done? After all, there are many adults who are very ignorant and many choose not to vote. Since I wasn't allowed to vote, I still wanted to help. I volunteered for a candidate in my district and advocated for the propositions I supported. At my school, we have security people, and one of them, his name is Cowboy, he said that he had never voted. I found out later he kind of didn't really, he never voted, but he registered. And this time I remember talking to him about Obama, and I was like, oh yeah, have you heard of Obama? Yeah, and this and that. So are you voting? And he's like, no. And I was like, why? And every day I saw him, I'd always be like, hey, did you vote yet? Come on, are you voting? He's like, no. And every day I would just convince him, like, okay, come on, you should vote because of this, and that. And I told him all these things, and we talked for a while. And then he said, okay, fine, I'll think about it. So every day after that, I said, hey, did you finish thinking about that? Are you ready? Are you going to vote? I have the voter guide right here. I have, to this day, I carry about 10 voter registration forms in my bag. But, yeah, I mean, and then after a while, I was like, come on, are you ready? Come on, are you going to? And then I think one day he said, oh, yeah, every time I said, oh, did you think about it yet? He's like, oh, I'm still thinking. He would ask me, oh, how's Obama doing? Like on the polls and all that. And I said, well, he'd be doing better if you were voting for him. And so the day after I said that to him, he finally decided to register. And I gave him the voter reg, and then I filled it out just with him, and he folded it, and he put it in the mail, and he voted. I can understand why some people don't want minors to vote, but I think that there should be a better compromise than just counting minors as a half vote. One idea I had was that if minors wanted to vote, they could take a test. If they passed it, they could vote. But I think it might take a while for that to happen. So for now, I'll just have to wait till I'm 18 to vote.